Welcome back to a brand new episode of B&B Movie Reviews. This week we get swept away in not just one twister, but multiple twisters, and Deadpool and Wolverine join the MCU. Kinda.
M. Night Shyamalan has us trapped listening to pop music, and Alien retreads some familiar territory. Stay right there. B&B is coming up next. Kate and Tyler help some locals escape from an oncoming tornado barreling down towards a local motel in the sequel reboot to Twisters. So, Brad, Twisters is back after how many? 20, almost 30? Almost 30 years?
Yeah, almost 30 years, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Do you have a Twister nostalgia?
I do. I'm not going to lie. I remember going to see the first Twister in theaters in '96. It came out like around my birthday. It was like the first movie of the summer. And I remember the summer of '96 because that was the big summer. Everybody was waiting for Independence Day.
Oh, yeah.
And Twister came out first. I was a big Helen Hunt fan because I love that show Mad About You. So seeing her on the big screen. So that's just, me.
Yeah, I had not seen Twister since I had seen it in the theater in 1996. So I did revisit it just before watching Twisters.
Okay.
And I have to say that just going back to that era of filmmaking, I really enjoyed. That cast is incredible beyond Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt.
Yeah, the ensemble is great.
Like Philip Seymour Hoffman, Todd Field, the director of Tar, is in that movie. Alan Ruck's in that film.
Alan Ruck is
I
in it.
love the crew. I love the look. I just love that era of filmmaking.
Yeah.
And we're in such a different era now in 2024.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. And I want to go to the director, Lee Isaac Chung. I mean, he directed this movie. If I feel like watching Twisters that he feels like us. He has a nostalgia for the original movie.
He feels like you. He has
like
a nostalgia.
Yeah, he feels like me. But I do feel like, so him shooting this movie on film, I think gives it a bit of an aesthetic, a grit to it that kind of harkens back to that original era a little bit.
I think what's fascinating about that is when the original film came out in '96, it was the CGI that was the draw. Spielberg's coming off of Jurassic Park. He's like, we can do things with spectacle that we could not do before. Yeah. Let's make a tornado movie. And now we've seen all that spectacle. Yeah. We're drowning in that spectacle. Yeah. And what's special about Twisters is, hold on. Actual film, not shot on digital, and it does look unique within the summer blockbuster landscape.
It does look unique. It feels like this movie is kind of masked as a romantic comedy to a degree.
I did not buy into the romance at all. I found actually Glenn Powell and his obsession with Daisy Edgar Jones in this movie totally baffling. Yeah. He is stalking her. Yeah. She doesn't want anything to do with him. She keeps telling him to go away, and he's just like, no, I'm going to follow you wherever you go. It's creepy.
It is, and I don't understand where that is kind of coming from, because when his character Tyler is introduced, he's like this YouTube influencer, and it's just like...
Where it comes from, Bryan, is a fascination with post-frontier yeehaw America. I want nothing to do with it. It's weird. Like, he's not cool. He's trying way too hard. And like, I feel, this is going to sound a little mean. I love Glenn Powell. But I feel like it also represents Glenn Powell's trajectory right now. Hollywood's trying really hard to make this guy the guy. And
Yeah.
he can do it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he can do it in roles like this.
It feels a little put on, I think, a little bit with this. You know what? I kind of bought into it, though, a little bit. I mean, look, he's got that $1 million smile. I can't deny it. I mean...
No, don't fall for it.
I know.
I love Lee Isaac Chung, and I think this movie is staged beautifully. I think some of the set pieces are extremely thrilling.
Yeah.
But it's a little been there, done that for me, and I did not buy into the central relationship.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Watching the two movies back to back, and I realized the nostalgia that I do have for that original movies, and how more connected I feel with those characters as opposed to the set of characters that are in the new movie. It does feel like we've been there and done that, because it does feel a little beat by beat to the original movie.
It just cranked up a little.
A little
it's
bit.
Cranked up just a little bit.
A little
the
bit cranked
opening
up.
of this film, where Daisy Edgar Jones is delivered her trauma, the way that Helen Hunt was delivered her trauma in the first film. That opening scene and the way that people are just picked out of the sky was scary.
That was.
Under that underpass.
Yeah.
When Leo Grand, I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy from Good Luck, Leo Grand, when he got sucked right off her body, I was like, oh,
yeah,
this is
scary.
thrilling.
That was thrilling. What's your rating for this, though?
I love the cinematography. I can't stand the central relationship. I found it ultimately a tad boring. B-.
Yeah, it's teetering on like mid for me, plus or minus. I think I'm gonna go with you on minus, only because it just doesn't recapture the magic that I feel from the original one. Although I do like Glenn Powell, I like the cast. I don't think the relationships do work, but yeah, I have to go B- as well, unfortunately. So yeah, those are our thoughts on Twisters. When we come back, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman return in their iconic comic book roles in Deadpool and Wolverine. Stay right there.
In America, millions of families are facing hunger.
After rent and power, I can get groceries. It's sad to say food comes last. Anna from Texas.
The Feeding America network of food banks helps provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Together, we can end hunger. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Scott used to beg me to wear this suit. So did Doran and the Beast. But I couldn't have him thinking I wanted to be there. It was too late.
It's only 9 people, but my entire world is right here in this picture. And I have no idea how to save it alone, but you know how to save them.
Whoever you think I am, you got the wrong guy.
You were always the wrong guy. Till you weren't.
Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman finally get their chance to team up under the MCU banner, giving the fans what they've been waiting for since the introduction of these beloved comic book characters on the big screen. Bryan.
Yeah.
The MCU and Deadpool finally meet.
Finally get together, man.
The deals have been struck. The companies have been purchased and enveloped. Does this movie actually feel like an MCU movie?
It's interesting because I know we had talked about this prior to the movie coming out, because I had a chance to see this before you got a chance to see it.
I really wish I had been there with you.
I know. And you had asked me that, and while I was watching this movie, I was looking for some of those touchstones that we've seen in other MCU movies. And honestly, even though it comes up with the Marvel Studios banner at the beginning in a very fun way, it doesn't. It doesn't feel like an. And I'm not saying that disparagingly. as a bad thing, but looking for some of those MCU isms or whatever it may be, I didn't feel that it was an MCU movie.
I mean, obviously they use some MCU plot mechanics. The TVA feature heavily. You see them in the trailers.
Yeah.
But I think this film is ultimately just a celebration of everything that happened under the 20th Century Fox banner, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool.
It is.
And when we get to the end credits, not to jump immediately to the end credits, but when we get to the end credits and we get this montage of every Marvel movie at 20th Century Fox, and I mean everyone. Fantastic Four, Josh Trank is present.
I know. We get all of it.
That was kind of nice, and I found it a little emotional.
Same. I mean, when you put that Green Day song there, I mean, you're going to get emotional, even though, and I'm like, sometimes I look back in that era, I'm like, were these really good movies?
No, I just said Josh Trank's Fantastic Four, and yet here I am, a little tear
I know, right?
rolling down the cheek.
Nostalgia, man, it's a hell of a drug.
It's a hell of a drug.
But yeah, man, seeing Ryan Reynolds, and we know how much of a friendship Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have. And I know that the fans throughout the years have always wanted to see these two characters played by these two actors team up. And when Logan came out, we thought that this was the end, we're never going to get that moment, and this comes together. And I think seeing them together, they really do kind of give the fans what they want.
I mean, it's a fun movie.
It
they
is
are
a fun
great
movie.
together.
They are.
And if you had traveled 20 years ago and shown me a couple of the fight scenes from this film between Deadpool and Wolverine, I would have been a puddle.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's mind-melting stuff.
Yeah.
Even if it also feels a little bit more of the same in 2024.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it as well. I mean, when you think about where we are now with comic book movies and how much we've seen, with characters coming, like intertwining and meeting each other. I mean, we've gotten Infinity War and Endgame and all the Avenger movies. So it's not anything new or exciting to see, but there are some exciting moments in this.
The problem for me is that you got to see it before me.
Yeah.
Right? And the moment this movie premiered, it was spoiled. Disney was publishing tweets that showed you half the cameos of this film. And by the time I did get to see it, which was unfortunately weeks later, I made some terrible life choices. All the cameos had been spoiled. And I think if some of those cameos had been surprises for me, I would have had a great time.
Had a better time enjoying that. Yeah, and I agree, because not knowing some of the cameos that we get, when you see them pop up, experiencing that in a theater, I think it definitely would have raised the experience of seeing that.
The movie's been out for several weeks now.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to talk about who's in it?
I mean,
'Cause I feel like
think
the entire world
we
already
can give
knows.
a spoiler alert. I mean, I think it seems like the movie's made over $1 billion at the time we're recording this, so everyone's seen it.
If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. If you haven't been spoiled, I don't know what rock you are living under, and I want to find it and live with you.
There you go.
But Gambit.
Yes.
Channing Tatum is Gambit in
Yeah.
this movie, and he is delivering the best Cajun accent you could possibly want from Gambit.
And I mean, Channing Tatum has always been, since 21 Jump Street, I've loved everything he's done comedically, and he is just firing on all cylinders, playing into the accent and playing into all the meta-ness of him not getting his own movie, seeing Elektra come in, all of these cameos, and then the one that I wasn't expecting, I don't think anyone was expecting, and to see him come back after all these years, of course, the conversation around his relationship with Ryan Reynolds coming off of Blade Trinity. Yes, I said Blade. Wesley Snipes is in this movie.
That is the cameo that I am so mad got ruined for me the most. That makes me the most mad, because if I had been in that theater next to you on opening night and Elektra pops up, the way that they stage that, where suddenly Elektra's here. Oh my gosh, Elektra. She's alive, Jennifer Garner. This is so interesting. Wow, what a crazy cameo to be in this movie. And then 5 seconds later, Blade walks around the corner. I would have been on my feet screaming if I didn't know it was coming. As is, it's still pretty cool.
It is cool. Of course, there's things like the overall plot. I mean,
gibberish, Bryan.
It is. But I do like Wade's motivation, and I think some of the pathos that he brings to that character really does work for me, especially getting towards the end.
It doesn't work for me. I like the direction. I like the idea behind the motivation, and even Wolverine's motivation.
Yeah.
Even if it's, again, like a bit of a retread of his motivation from Logan.
Yeah.
But that's like the missing MCU-ness. Because I feel like when the MCU is firing on all cylinders, it really delivers on the emotional stakes.
Yeah.
And I feel like this film had the window dressing of the emotional stakes, but just didn't actually have anything there.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I can see that. What's your rating for this?
You know, we're the B&B show.
Yeah.
We give things a B+ if we love it, a B- if we don't. It's so much fun. I can't deny it. I loved it. B+.
A B+ for me as well. Like I said, the overall plot, you're right, it's gibberish. But I mean, seeing these characters together, I mean, you can't help but have a good time watching this movie. So, yeah, those are our thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine. B+ for both of us. When we return, M. Night Shyamalan is back with a new movie. Stay right there. We'll talk about that one.
What a twist.
I only had a 29% chance to find a blood stem cell donor, but then we matched. Dear donor, we beat leukemia. Thank you forever and ever.
Save a life at nmdp.org.
Look at the stage where that guy came out. I wonder what's down there. Hey, we should climb down and see where it leads. It looks really cool.
What?
Would it be unbelievable to see what's down there? See how they put on the show? There might be costumes and things.
That's crazy. We can't go down there. You're acting strange. Is something wrong, Dad?
When Cooper realizes that the concert he takes his daughter to is a trap to catch him, he'll go to any length to escape in the latest M. Night Shyamalan thriller, Trap. Brad, M. Night Shyamalan is back.
I always look forward to his movies. They're not always successful.
I know.
Sometimes they stumble, but even in the stumbles, there is something there to value.
Yeah, there is. I always appreciate the swings that M. Night goes for. They don't always land for me, but I'm getting to a point, especially later in his career, the swings that he goes for in a lot of his movies. And I love the premise of this movie. The fact, and it's already put out there in the trailers that, you know, this man is taking his daughter to a concert. The concert is basically a trap to try to catch a serial killer, and it's revealed that he is the serial killer.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Would this movie have been better if you didn't know what the premise was going into it? Could they have marketed this movie without revealing the fact that he is the serial killer?
Maybe.
Because let's go back in time a little bit. Let's redo the opening of this film where you have this very loving father played by Josh Hartnett, and immediately the two of them, him and Riley, are so good together.
They are.
You love them,
You
right?
do.
They're adorable.
Yeah.
And he is trying so hard to be the cool dad. He's bringing her to the Taylor Swift equivalent here with Lady Raven.
Lady Raven,
played by M. Night Shyamalan's daughter. Nepotism for the win. And he then learns, you know, he's looking around, he sees all these cops everywhere. He's like, oh, why? He goes to the guy selling the t-shirts, like, why are all these cops around here? He's like, the butcher's here, and they're going to capture him. And then he goes to the bathroom, and he has somebody he's monitoring. He's got a guy chained up in a basement somewhere, and you realize, oh, he's the butcher.
Yeah.
Like, if they had eked it out that way, I think it could have been so much more fun.
I like the idea of not revealing that if we didn't know that in the marketing, because of his relationship with his daughter Riley. When you see the beginning of this movie, he has a great, loving father-daughter relationship with his daughter. And I love seeing the interaction between the two of them throughout the concert. Even when we know that he is the butcher, every time we see the two of them together, like you could just...
It becomes so much more electric, so much more unnerving, so much more grotesque if we had eased into that reveal. As is, it's still a pretty fun movie.
It is.
It is also a ridiculous film. No human is acting like a human in this movie.
And that's the thing about M. Night Shyamalan and his scripts. I mean, he does this a lot in his movies where his dialogue never feels natural. You know,
he also tends to populate his films with people that feel like non-actors. You know, he puts some like really amazing performers up front, like Josh Hartnett, who's given a career best performance.
Great, yeah.
And then like other people feel like they're folks out of community theater or maybe even just off the street.
Yeah, but there's something charming about that. Even the T-shirt guy.
That's who I'm talking about, Brian.
There's something kind of charming about seeing that in the movie, and it's like I don't know. I don't hold that against them. It's like it's a great observation because you're right.
I like it. I like it, and I think what you have to do when you watch some M. Night Shyamalan movies is you have to just accept that we're watching a movie. And I love movies, right? Yeah. This is not a grounded act of thriller cinema. This is a Hitchcock. You know?
It is, and I like that. Like I love these kind of pressure cooker type of movies where he's in this arena and he's trying to find ways to escape. He basically has this double life that he's trying to keep secret from his family and his daughter in the moment.
Yeah.
And and I'm thinking in this moment, because of that loving relationship with Riley, when that's revealed, when she finds out who her father really is, like I'm devastated for her because
her life's changed.
Yeah,
she went from having the best day of her life to the worst, and I feel for her.
Yeah,
like that's the thing about this film is that it is extremely fun. It is in conversation with its audience. It is a movie that demands you speak back to it, that you shout back to it, like, "Oh no, you didn't! What are you doing giving that guy a box cutter? He's the butcher." And my audience was extremely vocal throughout the whole thing. And then it just nosedives in the last third.
Yeah, and sometimes that could be, M. Night is kind of known for his twist at the end, and I'm not going to say this is necessarily a twist, but the movie does kind of take a turn in the third act.
It's an absurd film, and then it becomes Crazy Town.
Yeah, and for me, it does kind of fall apart.
I appreciate, again, the swing that he makes in the last third. And I think he could have pulled it off in a few ways that he just trips up on a little bit. And I really don't want to spoil that last third in this review because I do feel like this is a film that people will discover on streaming.
Yes.
And I would not want to rob them of the last third of this movie.
No, you don't. You don't.
But Salika Shyamalan, Lady Raven, really good.
Yeah.
I liked her a lot. Even though not necessarily an actor.
No, but I where her character goes and how they incorporate her more, I thought it was very, really interesting.
Yeah, and how her relationship with her fandom escalates.
Yeah, what's your rating for this?
I had a great time with it. I'm going B+.
Yeah, I was kind of going back and forth because of kind of where it goes, but I think that first half is really strong.
Worth the journey.
I'm going B+ as well. So, yeah, that's a B+ for us for M. Night Shyamalan's latest. There we go. Got twisted up with his name there. When we return, Alien is back with Alien Romulus. Stay right there.
Going to cheerleading camp next to the abandoned insane asylum, it's like throwing your blood away.
50% of Americans like watching blood get spilled in horror movies, but only 3% donate it.
Now that's scary.
Kay tries to escape the xenomorph who is lurking above her in one of many thrilling sequences in the latest entry in the Alien franchise, Alien Romulus. Brian.
Right.
This is the seventh or ninth, depending on your love of Alien vs. Predator and Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Entry in the franchise.
Yeah, seventh entry.
Ninth, I say.
I agree.
Does it feel like a breath of fresh air, or is it just another entry?
Ooh, that's a very, very good question. Where do I fall on that one? Does it feel like a breath of fresh air? I think where we have come from in the last few Alien movies, it does feel a little bit of a breath of fresh air, but at the same time, it does kind of, retread familiar territory that it's like, I don't know if this is going to separate itself as being like its own thing for me.
I mean, the movie shares almost the exact same structure of the first film, and in a lot of ways the same structure of the second film.
Yeah.
And I find that very frustrating.
Yeah.
I loved the first 2/3, maybe the first half of Alien Romulus. The world building is extremely strong. We did get to visit these colonies in Aliens for a couple scenes in James Cameron's director's cut. But now we get to really see what the conditions of a colony under the rule of Weyland-Yutani are, and it's terrifying, and it's dystopian, and you can understand why these kids need to get off
out.
this rock. I loved all that.
Yeah, same. I love the setup. I love the motivation for all these characters, of their reasoning for wanting to get off of this planet, and then like what they try to do to get off this planet as well. But and I like the cast.
It's a good cast. There are great members in the cast.
There are great members in the cast.
And then there are other cast members who are given a disservice by the script.
True, yeah. Kaylee Spaney, David Johnson, who I was trying to remember where I saw David Johnson from last year, Rye Lane. That was the movie he was in.
Yeah. Oh, we love Rye Lane.
And we love Rye Lane. He is great in this
he's
as the synthetic, as the android Andy. And then I like how, I don't know if I want to give too much away about his character, but there's some shift in his character that takes some interesting
there are
directions.
multiple types of androids in
the
Alien franchise, and he gets to play a little double duty.
Yeah, exactly. But you're right. I think this is 2/3 of a good movie. I think there are some great, intense, suspenseful sequences in this movie.
The set pieces in this film are phenomenal.
I mean, some of them play like a video game. There's almost like a "Don't Breathe" moment. Talking about Fede Alvarez, the no gravity moment. I thought was excellent. So there are sequences in this movie that I think are top notch.
Yeah.
But then again, like you say, when we get to that third act, and for me, and we talked about this after we saw it, the thing that kind of took me out is the callbacks. And
the callbacks are one thing. To me, it's the structure issue is the biggest problem. Like, to me, the moment you realize, oh, this is the exact same structure of Alien, you know how the film's going to end.
Yeah.
So, like, when you hit that 1/3, like the final third mark, the whole film's telegraphed to you if you've seen Alien. If you've never seen an Alien movie and you just walked into the theater and watched Romulus for the first time, it's, I think, probably a flawless experience.
Yeah.
So, you got to toss it up to Fede Alvarez for that.
Yeah.
But because of my love of Alien, the callbacks and that structure really grate on my nerves.
I feel like this is a perfect opportunity for Alien coming back to do its own thing. I mean, you're bringing in Fede Alvarez, who's known for doing suspense and gore and, graphic violence, which this movie is not as graphic as they're making it seem to be.
It's pretty gnarly, though.
There are some gnarly moments in it, but again, my thing with a lot of these rated R movies is like you get some of these gnarly moments, but then when you see some of the kills, it quickly cuts away. And I'm like, linger on some of these shots. If you give it that R rating, go for it.
I also wish it didn't resurrect a certain face in this film.
Oh God!
I hate the way that it does that. The way that I hated the way that Rogue One did it and The Mandalorian did it. That's a much longer conversation that we can have. But there was no reason to do that in this movie. It looks weird. I don't like it. And it did make me appreciate the wild swings of Prometheus and Alien Covenant.
The more I think about it, the more I can appreciate that.
But that's why this movie is a bit of a fallback. Because Ridley Scott went so wild with Prometheus, they were like, well, let's just deliver a scary alien movie. And they have.
Yeah.
And it looks great. The sets are amazing. The digital effects are amazing. The blending of the two are fantastic.
Yeah.
And again, if you were just walking off the street and this was your first Alien movie, you just watched a great film.
You did. What's your rating for this one?
despite my frustrations, I think I got to go B+ because that 2/3 was so strong.
Same. I think I'm gonna go B+ as well. Like I said, I think the set pieces are amazing. The nostalgia beats and the callbacks kind of do take me out of it, but it's a thrilling and suspenseful movie, and it's beautifully shot as well. So yeah, they'll B+. All right. All right. So those are our thoughts on a B+. I know. There we go. So let's go ahead and recap what we reviewed today on the show, starting with what we talked about, Twisters. Twisters, we gave a B- for both of us. Then we have Deadpool and Wolverine, which we gave a B+ for both of us. We go to Trap. Trap, we gave a B+ for both of us. And Alien Romulus, that is a B+ for both of us as well. Movies. Yeah, we like movies. So thank you for joining us on this latest episode of B&B Movie Reviews. Come be a part of the conversation. If you have questions, suggestions, feel free to email us at bnbmoviereviews@gmail.com. And with that, we will see you at the movies.